The following is a paid program sponsored by Get Elevated. Please be advised that the voices and opinions you hear do not necessarily represent the views of KUNV Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education.
Please note that while we will cover a multitude of topics, including many alleged health benefits, all information provided should be considered anecdotal and informational. Please consult with your physician before adding cannabis to your medical regimen. Cannabis is for adults 21 years of age and older. Also, paid sponsorships are not to be misconstrued as preferred or favored by the host. In any way, they are merely that, paid sponsorships. Good morning, happy Saturday. Welcome to another episode of Get Elevated with Gia. I'm in the studio this Saturday with Ray, the Magic Man. What up, Ray?
What's going on?
Happy Saturday. So this show is about cannabis. It's about truth and clarity in cannabis, and it's about making sure that the entire world knows about cannabis and tries it. The vision for the show is global access, awareness, and education of cannabis. We're going to have fun. This is a really cool episode. I originally called the show Local Love, the Chamber of Cannabis Ladies. For those of you in Nevada, you probably know these hot ladies walking around town with their posse just showing up everywhere. And they decided to call the show the Chamber of Cannabis Ladies. And what is it, Tina?
Changing the world one doobie at a time.
One doobie at a time. You know, when I first started working here in Nevada, I would go back to Chicago and say, that's where my company's based, I would say building an empire one joint at a time. So I get it. I totally get it. And so in the studio, along with Magic Man Ray, we have Tina Ulman, the president of the Chamber of Cannabis, and Dani Baranowski, the vice president of the Chamber of Cannabis. So this is a really great opportunity for us to bring some local people in, because we've had a lot of people from across the country talking about different topics. We've had a lot of clinical stuff, a lot of science, a lot of medicine with the plant. But what we haven't really talked about is the legislation and the politics, which is where I don't know a lot. You guys know everything. So I'm very excited to learn. I've read things, but to hear your passion behind it. And so who better than you two lovely ladies to talk about local love and cannabis, as well as changing the world one doobie at a time. So Tina, when I met you, as I've been here almost 3 years now, I met you a lot, but I never really got time with you. But my occurring of you was like, she's everywhere and she's doing it all. And everything that you did, though, was beyond your current role. Your job is the least of which I know. What I know about you is you're just crazy passionate about this plant. But the way you approach it and taking this legislative, I honor it. It's really awesome. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is the most time I'll get to spend with you since I've been here in 3 years.
Yes.
So I'm happy about that.
The plan is working wonderfully.
Yes, it is. Yes. Dani, I met you, was it 2 years ago? You strapped an oxygen mask to my face at a Women Grow event. You were like, I was just inhaling terpenes.
Right. I was teaching you what terpenes were like. We had a whole experiential
awesome.
fun thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also experiential. At that same studio, a year later, we were on the aerial silks together. I was like, dang it.
It's true.
Yeah. So
I think of that.
Right. Something about that place. But also what I love about you is you have this, how can I say it? Like this boss presence, but like super feminine about it. It's like, I don't know, like Tina, you're like CEO, get stuff done, executive with like briefcase type lady. That's how I see it. And Dani's more like, you got the hot pink nails and like the like boss lady, but also like, yeah, it's just fun. You guys are just a great combination of awesomeness. And I'm so glad you're here.
Maybe a zesty executive.
Ooh.
I could be.
Wait a second. Hashtag Zesty Executive.
Yes. Zesty exec.
Have you been called this before? Have you thought about this? You didn't just think of that now.
I think zesty is the best word to describe myself.
gosh,
if I could do
zesty.
it in one. Yeah, that's kind of encapsulates me.
I'm kind of
so.
going to steal it a little bit. I'm a
You
zesty.
are zesty.
We kind of
but
all,
I don't think,
Yeah,
you
you're
know what?
zesty.
3 zesty executives.
3 zesty Polish queens.
There it is, team.
That's our other commonality.
3 zesty Polish queens. I love that. I love that. Okay. Whew. Now, wait, for those of you who are joining us for the first time and stepping into that weird conversation, the purpose of this show, as I talked about, is global awareness, action, access, and education of cannabis. And we are going to have, and we have had so many people. The thing is, everyone, it's a requirement. You have to be on fire for this plant. And the show just magnetizes the people that need to be on here. So if you're listening for the first time, congrats. You are part of that crew. And for those of you that are returning, I always like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so important. And can I share a cool story? So we had Dr. Batty. Do you know him from The Sanctuary? He owns The Sanctuary.
Oh, yes,
One
you
Up.
do.
Oh my God, he's magical. And the show was the evolution of mankind. Small topic. Cannabis for the evolution of mankind. But in that show, he talked about, as part of his work with his mother, who lived like 7 years longer because of cannabis, that anyone who had cancer or someone with an illness that needed help involving cannabis into their medical regimen and was unsure, he was willing to help for free. Wow, and that episode, a woman was listening, and on Instagram, she pinged me, and I got him to connect with her, and we might have some healing because of the show. Like,
yes. That's how we have felt just about really the last probably year and 2 years of our life, with just these incredible connections, cosmic connections,
the synchronicities. This plant is tapping people to be of service, and it's so exciting. So anyway, I was very excited, and I don't know about the outcome, but I know it'll be great. So, okay. So Tina, let's start with you. Tell us about yourself.
Yes. So I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. And unfortunately, that area was really affected by the drug war. Definitely an area that I would like to go back and, preserve. But my parents moved to Kingman, Arizona to give us a better life. And I was fortunate enough to go to junior high and high school there, then came to UNLV, graduated with hospitality management. Right. Loved my time here at UNLV.
Shout out to UNLV.
Yes, yes. And then worked for Wyndham Resorts for 13 years.
Wow.
I grew up playing restaurant and hotel my entire life. I knew I wanted to be in hospitality, and I had a wonderful career. Got to travel all over, lived in 10 different places. And then I just really had reached all of my goals, and I knew I wanted to go and be in the cannabis industry. So that was for sure. I've been passionate about the plant for 13 years. I started smoking when I started working at Wyndham because I couldn't fall asleep because I was so stressed out.
Oh, dear.
And really found relief in that. And have been passionate about criminal justice reform and drug reform. Many of my family members were in prison for the war on drugs when they shouldn't have been. Being from Kingman, Arizona, where it is a wonderful small town, many people drive through it if you're from Las Vegas. Unfortunately, it was just run over with meth and heroin and pills, and so many of that affected my friends' lives. So those are the two reasons I'm passionate about cannabis, mostly. But there's a million other ones that go under there, and I really wanted to take that passion, and then my hospitality experience, and then just my desire to build something that's never been built, and here we are today.
So your journey to cannabis was for sleeping, and then it evolved into just fun, recreational?
It was for sleeping for a long, long time. Like I worked. I could never tell anybody that's what I did. I mean, I was in the cannabis closet for 13 years. I would never want to do something that didn't make my parents proud of me.
I gotcha.
So when I did tell them that I was leaving Wyndham to start in the cannabis industry, that was a fun conversation.
Sure.
My pops actually said, "So let me get this straight. You're quitting your job to sell dope."
I mean, yeah, Dad. I love that you call him Pops. That's so cute. That's what I called my dad.
And so then I was like, "It's cannabis."
Yeah.
But, that was the beginning of a journey that I really finally felt that I was doing something that was so fulfilling, and I was able to help teach other people, change their lives. I mean, especially folks in Kingman who really...
Where is that, by the way? If you're
Kingman?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to go there. You could just go one day and go for a drive.
What's it near?
It's on 93, like you're going towards Phoenix.
Okay, got it.
Okay. And so now, being able to change people's minds that maybe weren't open to it before because they're in pain, because they realize addiction can happen with prescription drugs and they don't want to go down that road. So it just fuels my fire to keep building and spreading that knowledge, but really building something that will change the future here, both for commerce and just for individuals.
Yeah, I love it. Cool story.
Thanks.
Your pops. Yeah, you're selling the weed.
Well, my mom says that and I'll get into my story and why, she doesn't feel free to say what I do, but she tells people I work in essential oils.
Stop it.
She's not wrong. Or no, sorry. She says aromatherapy.
Oh, she's right. She's spot on.
I'm like,
Wow.
Gia will be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Can, the world's first microdose THC beverage, is now available in dispensaries all over Nevada. Out of all drinks in 2019, cannabis or not, BevNet recognized Can as the best new beverage. It's only 30 to 35 calories per serving and comes in 3 delicious and award-winning flavors: lemon lavender, blood orange cardamom, and grapefruit rosemary. More information and where to buy your 6-pack of Can is available at our website, drinkcan.com. That's with 2 N's, drinkcan.com.
Okay, so Dani, what's your story?
Well, so I grew up in neighboring Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
Classic stereotype story. Had a big old Mormon family. Had the most wonderful childhood, very pure. And, when I was 18, I decided I wanted to leave the church. And I started dating a young gentleman, and he introduced me to cannabis. And I'd been smoking weed for 1 month in my life. We were in a national forest, and we ended up getting arrested. And so what did that mean? I ended up getting a cannabis felony when I had been consuming cannabis for 1 month. I had less than 1 gram of cannabis on me and a piece. We were both arrested and charged with 2 felonies. And then because I'm a young white woman that has never been in trouble and grew up in Utah, I was able to get an incredible plea deal. But I'll tell you what, and I actually didn't tell my parents until just a couple months ago. So this happened. Yeah. So this happened 12 years ago. And I was terrified. And I said, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to go through this plea deal. They kind of, the plea deal was intense for me at the time, but of course other people have it worse. I had drug tests 3 times a week. I was put into intensive drug addiction courses. So I was introduced to people that were actually drug addicts when I myself was just trying out cannabis.
Smoking a little weed.
Yeah. And so I made my way all the way through successfully probation. And the last day that I signed, my paper saying I was done, I was like, this is not okay. This did not make sense. This does not fit the crime. And so I kind of set that aside for a moment, and I tried a couple different careers. I'm really passionate about hospitality as well. I worked in the bar and food service industry. And then I also am a scuba diving instructor. And so I left to travel the world. And then a couple of years ago, I actually ended up surviving a Category 5 catastrophic hurricane, and it just, really topsy-turvied my entire life. And I was living in California, and I thought, what can I do? And what can I do that can combine my passion of educating people, sharing what I love, and sharing what I'm passionate about? I think I use it. I'm usually going about 7,000 miles an hour, and most people are at like 1,000 or under. And so for me to kind of tone down my excitement and make it palatable, and also make it make sense and conducive towards success, I like to consume a little cannabis to slow my roll and really focus my energy into the appropriate directions.
I love that.
And so my sister, who's my executive coach, so she sent me a job listing here in Nevada, and it was incredible. I got hired as an international account manager for a dry herb vaporizer company. So I got to travel all over the world educating people on, first of all, why cannabis? Why would you vaporize it over using combustion? And I really just threw myself in all my passion. And then in the mix of that, I was able to change the stigma for people in my family, doing end of life pain management, able to provide them with RSO. They never would have known about that because they are not exposed to all the things that we are exposed to here living in a recreational state. So my passion of educating and sharing what I love, I always say, I want everyone to be as happy as I am. And I've never been happier.
So your actual journey, when did you start smoking again?
So as soon as I was off probation, I was back to it. I hopped to it, and then I had to take...
Well, so wait. So you only did it for a month, but you must have loved it.
I loved it. And then I had to take about a year and a half off to complete my all the probation.
Okay. Wow.
And then I was working as a bartender, server, restaurant manager for about 5 years. And then once I became a scuba diving instructor, because you get drug tested by the Coast Guard.
This makes sense.
Yeah. Then I had to take another brief break.
Okay. Now let's talk about the Chamber and how it got started. Just have at it. I'll let you guys tell us about the Chamber.
Well, perfect. Thank you, Gia. So working in the cannabis industry, we saw a need for a like-minded group of people to connect that were really building the industry, breaking stereotypes and stigmas, putting in the work. I mean, everything that you should be doing if you have the opportunity to be in this emerging market. And it was fun to socialize with a lot of people and, of course, smoke cannabis. But we wanted to do more than that. We really wanted to, number one, move cannabis commerce forward correctly and fairly. Or I should say fairly and transparently. And we wanted to make a difference in our community. Something small, something big, it doesn't matter. I mean, right now, anything in the community is needed. And then reform justice. So we live in a state that the voters have voted cannabis to be recreationally legal to purchase, but all these other laws didn't change with them. So why are we making millions of dollars and we still have people possibly sitting in prison, still with a record? All these things just didn't add up because those laws didn't change when we voted for it. So the more we both started to learn about this, the more passionate we became and immediately wanted to find solutions. We used to live a mile apart from each other and we had the same assemblyman.
As besties would.
It was fate. It was the universe.
Of course.
And we love convenience. So we have a wonderful assemblyman, Steve Yeager, for District 9. That is the southwest side. Woohoo, rise up. Yeah. And he is incredible. And I got to meet him when I went to Carson City to lobby in 2018. And I was super nervous. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. And I was so fortunate to meet Steve and realized, you know what? He is a great guy that's so approachable, down to earth, and he listened to what I had to say. And from
walk us through this. So you go up to Carson City by yourself?
No, actually, that was with the Normal Coalition, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Law.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. And then you try to set appointments, but maybe they don't. And so you literally.
And how many they are you meeting?
Well, we got a meeting with him and then with Assemblyman McCurdy, who is not my assemblyman. Now McCurdy is a commissioner.
Okay.
But him and then maybe one or two others.
Okay.
But they don't always have time to talk to you, and maybe they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
But they should, because they are representing you. And sometimes we forgot that in this political arena that's so filled with money and campaigning and we hope they do some campaign finance reform so that we can put a stop to how much money people have to raise. But essentially, you just, from that point on, having a much more solid relationship with him and his wife, Judge Beta Yeager, and the amazing women that were all in the public defender's office with her. So we helped them with their campaigns, gave them some Instagram advice. They are all active on Instagram.
So cute.
And really just told everybody in the cannabis industry and community who was pro-cannabis and who to vote for. And so that really helped these political leaders' campaigns. A reach that many people probably were not registered to vote. They probably didn't know who to vote for.
Right.
So in 2019, just busting my butt to, go to every dispensary, every bud tender training, and just try to educate our peers. And I knew if I could see that these are the people that we need to have in office, if I could get the cannabis community, then they would start to see we could change things, right? And so now here we are at a place where Assemblyman Steve Yeager is sponsoring the two bills that we are leading the campaign on, AB 341, which is the consumption lounge bill, and AB 400, which is the cannabis DUI bill. I don't know if he would have done that if we weren't involved. So, and he is now sponsoring these bills. And we have been so fortunate enough to build this organization to about 100 members and about 40 companies who want to see these two laws passed. And most people just don't know how. And we didn't know how. Right. I used to make a joke that said, I only know hair, makeup, and timeshare. So now we have really just dove head first, and we're like sponges. We want to soak up the policy. We want to learn. And
you have an affinity for politics, right? Because some people
I don't. I didn't. I'm 100%. I say this. I wasn't even 100% sure what the legislator did 2 years ago. I'm here to talk about something serious. And that's where we realize this isn't as overwhelming as people think it is. And we want more of our peers to understand, this is how you use your voice. It is not by posting memes and yelling at the world on social media. It is thinking, hey, how can I be a part of the solution? And who do I need to befriend and build a relationship with that can help me implement that solution? And that's really what we've done.
Now for a quick word from our sponsors. From the chief lobbyist of Matos Consulting, Jay is spearheading a new bill for consumption lounges. Jay is passionate about alternative places to consume cannabis, so our city and the Strip can remain family friendly.
Dani, what do you have to say about the chamber?
You know, I will say that I did have a mild. I've been very interested in politics my entire life. So that's something my dad and I have loved to debate and discuss. And then Tina and I have we identified what we wanted to do, and that was come to our leaders with solutions. And I think a lot of us in the industry we're just waiting for someone else to do it, waiting for someone else to organize these events, to do not just these legislative political things, but organize events so we can come together and we can elevate our industry. We can put our ideas together to create, magic. I always say, there's a piece of the pie for everyone. And if we all put our pieces together, there's a bigger pie and there's more for all of us to eat. And so I think our industry has matured from, really cliquey and trade secrets and proprietary knowledge to now it's to the point that we can share and we can lament and we can get together and we can continue moving this forward and innovating it. And so with some of the legislation we're working on, that was our goal. It was like, what is the next step for the cannabis industry? And what is the next step for Las Vegas? I mean, when I was in college, I got the privilege to go, I did a study abroad and in Germany, and I made my way over to Amsterdam, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
And hop, skip away.
Of course. Got to consume cannabis in a club, and I just thought, man, this is the bee's knees. I think this is so cool. How cool will it be when this is available in the United States? And then to now live in a recreational state that doesn't provide anywhere for tourists or locals to consume cannabis, but we can consume alcohol literally on the street, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's our entire Vegas culture.
Yeah.
I'm excited to continue innovating our industry and bring it just up to the level and then beyond, really to the moon. I say this all the time, but Vegas is really structured and built out to be the Amsterdam of America. We just have to plug it in. And so we're kind of providing the
Tell me why you say that.
Well,
you've been there, you've experienced it. How is Vegas like that?
Well, simply because Amsterdam is the place where everyone goes to consume cannabis,
Got it.
right? Because it's been decriminalized for can't say how long time, but it is the cannabis tourist destination. Now here in the United States, as we are slowly decriminalizing and legalizing, we're California, you can go to California. I remember when Colorado became legal, I immediately went to Denver and I was a cannabis tourist. Yeah. And then again, myself working in hospitality and tourism industry, just combining all of these worlds, I think we have the opportunity with the way, first of all, we are an international destination. We legalize cannabis recreationally. Why don't we have these cool opportunities? Why can't I watch Cirque du Soleil and have a spliff? Right. I want to be able to have the same access that, other consumers do. And then on that note, I think, again, this is innovating the industry. People, my age and younger are less apt to want to come gamble and experience kind of this older style of Vegas. And so Vegas needs to, update itself with the current century. And so me and my friends, they might not come to Vegas if all they can do is go to the casinos and gamble. But if they could consume some cannabis and gamble, if they could consume some cannabis and walk down Fremont Street and look at the lights, like that's going to bring in this whole other group of people that have maybe been disenfranchised from the tourism industry. So it's just so much goodness and so much excitement. And then, like Vegas is already structured with gaming and casinos and nightlife. So this is just, that final
finding
piece.
the way to fit it in.
Exactly. To integrate it together. It's already,
that's the word.
The framework's already there. I just can't legally do it yet.
Right. Wow, that's exciting.
And we also think why not us? First and foremost, why not us, the two of us, for being the leaders, in this industry in so many different ways. But why not Las Vegas? We already are one of the, if not the top destination in the United States,
100%.
Especially for weekend
Look at the Strip
trips.
right now. You've seen it? Like it's crazy popping.
Right?
Yeah.
People want to come here. People want to have fun. They want to do things they don't usually do. We all can attest to this. In the dispensaries, it's John and Mary from Iowa that are coming in.
100%.
Like it is John and Mary that just
They're like,
want
we want to try that weed.
Can we
just
get
for
a
sleep.
joint
Just
and
for
some
some brownies? Wow.
and
Brownies.
And we Vegas, the tourism, the leaders here, they have to look at how things are changing. And like to Dani's
You have
point,
to roll with it. And so many, 40 million are coming now. How many will come when you can smoke?
Oh,
420
and
million
watch
plus.
comedy. And I love that. You've done the math. Yeah.
so why not us? What are we waiting for? Do we want to be last to the party? I don't think so.
I don't think
and
so.
we set the bar for best practices. All these states, we all look at each other. Oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they
Yes,
doing over there?
yes,
Like, hey, let's set the bar and let's have other states follow
The
us.
template could be here, and then it's just, cut and paste. Yeah.
Exactly. We'll show them the way.
Are we ready to talk about the initiatives?
Yes,
Are you
I
ready?
kind of already touched on them.
You did, but let's go into more detail around
absolutely.
the legislative initiatives so pretend like people are like, I have no clue what's going on.
Sure.
Take it from that lens.
Perfect. So our two legislative initiatives are having a place where people can consume safely without being criminalized. Unfortunately, our legislator was not able to do that in the last 4 years. So people are walking around on the strip, smoking weed, blowing it in kids' faces. First and foremost, we condone responsible adult use, as do the majority of people in the cannabis industry. And that is not responsible. And that is a huge failure on part of our public service officials to just go a blind eye to it. I mean, no. So we're going to go ahead and take the matters in our own hands. We worked with Assemblyman Steve Yeager to put a proposal together for him. And we were so fortunate enough to retain a lobbyist, Scott Rutledge, with our Gentum partners, who's 10 times more smarter than us in this area. And we really wanted to learn from him. And of course, him help this get this passed. So the Consumption Lounge initiative really comes down to having a place for people to consume, but also creating new license types where more people can get in the industry and be a business owner that were probably left out. Women, Black folks, brown folks, anyone affected by the war on drugs. That's who was left out of our rounds.
Okay.
So this license would give dispensaries an opportunity to have a social use venue, a consumption lounge, either adjacent or not. So huge win for the dispensaries there and for
When
consumers.
you say adjacent but not connected to, or adjacent
It can
as
be
in
either.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
it could be either.
Okay.
So that way when people walk out of there, especially if they're tourists, they can consume and then keep walking away. Not smoke on the street. And then the other opportunity we have is to create a standalone venue that would be permissive use, which would be consumption only. So let's say one of our friends owns a yoga studio, which many of our friends do, and they want to now be able to let people consume during their yoga meditation.
Yep.
They would be able to
I'm
do
in.
that,
I'm in.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So many people. That cannabis would be brought in from a legal Nevada retailer, thus again increasing the revenues, and would hopefully increase that business that probably was affected by COVID and saw their numbers drop.
Right.
Then, if the CCB regulated allowed them, that venue could possibly sell single serving use. So
Single serving use.
so
Okay.
let's say a restaurant. We have so many great canna chefs here. Let's say
we do.
Yes,
Yeah.
they could open a restaurant. They could not only serve infused food, but they could also possibly serve single serving use. So a joint or, whatever the person would want. No cannabis could be left there or could be taken away from there, just like liquor.
Okay, got it.
Yep,
Got it.
just
Smoke
like
it there,
liquor.
consume it there, and be gone.
Yep. And we would have dram shop laws to protect consumers. Again, we're condoning responsible adult use. We
What
have
is the law?
dram shop laws, so you can't go back and sue the bar or the
Okay, right.
establishment
Got
that
it.
you're
Thank
at.
you. I wasn't familiar with that term.
And the great thing is we look at over the past 4 years that so many people have been consuming, we have not had an increase in any kind of incidents with driving or fatalities. We just see it over and over again with alcohol. And so many people have switched from alcohol to cannabis that it's also great for public safety. That would kind of be in it in a nutshell, but pretty much any business somebody wanted to start, whether it's a barbershop, a salon, a yoga studio, a cafe, a restaurant, karaoke lounge, arts and crafts store, place. So the sky is the limit. And we don't feel that we should put a cap on these. That can be done just kind of based on like where they're located, because they're not going to be able to be located everywhere.
Right.
And boom, now so many great points to that: economic development, taxes.
Is that what you were going to say, Dani?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say Las Vegas, we are a tourism-based economy, and this is a way to drive tourism. It's a way to revitalize brick and mortars, as well as continue innovating the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add to your point, Tina, it's not only just tourists that need a place to consume. Because cannabis is federally illegal, if you rent your home, which is a vast majority of Las Vegans. I think
Sure.
that's how I say it.
Las Vegans.
Las Vegans.
Nevadians.
Nevadans. I don't know. But you are breaking the law, and you could potentially, have your lease broken. Also, let's take into account medical patients.
Sure.
They might need a place to consume that's not their home, or maybe you're in a care center, things like that. So it's these other medical use and patients also deserve opportunity and access, plus local consumers.
For anyone listening, for more information about the Chamber, where can they reach you, ladies?
Absolutely. They can check out our social. We have a Instagram, Chamber of Cannabis. That is definitely where they're going to find
Simple
the most
enough.
up-to-date information on what we're doing all the time. They can also go to our website, thechamberofcannabis.org. I'm your old pal Tina on social.
Oh, Paltina. Love it. Okay,
I'm
Dani.
the Gypsy Sorceress.
Gypsies.
And we're also on LinkedIn.
Love it. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. We are not done. Please join us next Saturday where we're going to continue this discussion on these two important legislative bills that are just, these ladies are just salivating to talk about, and I'm so excited to learn. So friends, as I always like to say, welcome to the future of cannabis. My name is Gia. I'll be your tour guide.
You have been listening to a paid program sponsored by Get Elevated. Please be advised that the voices and opinions you heard do not necessarily represent the views of KUNV Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education.